Wuthering West finally released their Phase 2 banner, which is consist of a Denia and alongside with her, which is a 2 rerun character, Frolova and also the Chisa. Now when it comes to the Denia, she was kind of like a filler character in the second anniversary, because in the second anniversary the main attention is none other than our Hyuki, and beside Hyuki does not even have her best in slot teammate, but from the story and also from the leaks we can even have our next character, which is a Glacier, and she is also sub DPS and also going to be the best in slot for our Hyuki, and that's already a given prediction that the community was giving off. Now the main thing is that if you are really a Hyuki main, already invested so many things on her, especially her weapon, and also especially get a multiple dues on her, I guess you should totally hold your pools off and totally invest your pool on your next character, which is kind of considered as a vertical investment. And aside from that, the current best team for the Hyuki is none other than consist of a Linai and also the Chisa and Hyuki by herself. But this is not the video of the Hyuki, this is the video of a Denia. So in this video I'm going to talk about where the Denia is totally truly shining into this current meta. Is she even a tier 0 character, or is she even a tier 05, or is she even a dog shit character? Now why it is a very concerning thing, aside from her being a new character and also other rerun character, those rerun character does not even hold any kind of candle value to this current meta. Only the thing that you should be consider, which is a Denia, is she is even a good character or not, because on the Hyuki banner there was kind of like a good character to have, because in that Hyuki banner the first character was the Hyuki by herself and another character was a Morny, and also alongside with the Yuno. Those two characters are actually powerful, especially Yuno. Yuno is a jack of all trades but master of none, but when it comes to the Morny, she is totally busted even compared to the better version of a shorekeeper. Whatever, the main thing about this video is going to be, so having this character on your account or having this character on these games, is she totally providing any kind of true value to this current meta, or is she totally shaping the meta, or is she totally kind of like one of those like a side character who just totally have to be fill up the space, and other than that she does not even hold any kind of candle. So without further ado, let's start. But before then, I really want to give you a brief description that which site I'm going to use, which is the none other than the Pride.gg. Yes, of course this is the like one of those like a most popular website when it comes to covering these types of games, tier list and also builds and other review section. So they do have some kind of like a hot take when it comes to these types of game. They are not only covering the Wuthering game, they're also covering the other game alongside with the Hoovers and other games. But in my opinion, when it comes to the Hoovers game, they do have a power creep tendency. So when it comes to the placement of a certain characters into those games by the Pride.gg, they are mostly valid. But when it comes to the Wuthering, I am not seeing that any of those things are hold any kind of value, because this is a one of those like a skill based game. If you do have a skill on a certain characters, you might be even clearing without any kind of problem, because there are several videos where Dungeon Man and also Forester character can even clear this whole end game mode, which is a Tower of Adversity and also Whimpering West, without any kind of problem, just by their sheer skills. Anyway, a very much of a yap I already done. So without further ado, let's start. So in here I'm not going to click any of those things which is about the tier list and criteria, roles, tags, rating and meta changelog lines, because if I just somehow click one of those things, I might be even get spoiled and the whole video is going to be ruined. Anyway, let's just totally swipe into slowly. So there is a two types of endgame mode the Wuthering is providing to you. First one is a Tower of Adversity and also Whimpering West. Tower of Adversity is a consist of a single target character and also multi-wave character. Whimpering West is a totally based on the multi-wave, or you can say the AoE types of character. If you do have a skin wipe types of characters such as like the Jian, Camellia and also the Frolova, those characters are going to be shining in the Whimpering West mostly because they are the very much of a gated towards the AoE content or AoE types of damage. So you have to remember that. So in here I don't even have to go for the Whimpering West and also Tower of Adversity at the same time, because only just having only one mode, this site can give you a whole types of description. Just move your cursor to a certain characters, you might even know just what that character totally belong into this Tower of Adversity and also Whimpering West without just going to those endgame mode individually. Okay, enough up, let's move on to the characters, which is Apex to Apex tier are one of those characters where you don't even have to follow any of those meta. The game, if the game does not give those particular characters, especially the Apex character, a valuable buff, the character is still going to be shine. That's why they are the Apex character. The meta revolves around them, they are not even revolving around the meta. So basically they are totally a meta creator, not by follow the meta. Anyway, okay, for the tier 0, Tam, she is a tier 0 character, but when it comes to the Whimpering, she is tier 1. Of course, the tier 1, the position that they put her into this initial phase, I guess they are going to to put her into a watch list, because there are so many testing are need to be happen and so many things are going to be happen here and there, and after that I guess they are going to put her at least tier 0.5 or tier 0. Basically she's not even actually some kind of like a sub DPS character, because in this game there is kind of like a trend was started, is that if you see some of those like a sub DPS character, those sub DPS character are also feeling the support characters, or you can say the sustain characters. So in here all the things are can be get by only as being a sub DPS character. You don't have to pull any of those like a sustain character. That's how much of a value that can a sub DPS character can even provide. That's why in this game the support characters, or you can say the true sustain characters, are very low, and when it comes to the sub DPS character they are very much high, and also there is very much of a limited characters who can even provide a universal value towards the whole character. Other than that, when the Denia kit was leaked by the Wuthering's official community, she was not even a single character. She's not even like a niche character, just like the Lupa and also the Chuyan. Other than that, she's actually very much of a universal character, but I didn't even read it. I hope that they are going to provide it into their description when I'm going to check on her individually. Besides than that, let's see where the other characters put into the tier 0.5. Is there any kind of like ups and down? Of course, Chichiona is totally goes down from tier 0 to tier 0.5. Of course, she's actually a Karthetia partner, and if the Karthetia goes down, she also goes down. Outside her Karthetia team, she does not even hold any kind of value toward this team, because she's not only going to provide you a erosion buff, and other than that she does not even have any kind of keys towards the aero buff, which is the main thing, because if she does provide you aero buff, other characters just like the Jian and also the Sigrika can even have their provided value. But other than buffing the erosion buff towards the aero character, which is specific for the Karthetia, she does not even hold any kind of value. So the character that goes up from the previous version, which is the Chisa, she was in the previous version was a tier 0.5. Well, after so many testing, Hyuki got her best in slot partner for the negative status character, because for the first negative status character, which is none other than the Chisa, and the second one, which is the Hyuki, and in this game there's only the two negative status character, which is the Hyuki by herself and also the Chisa. So of course Chisa does have kind of like a facing so many backlashes, having to fit into the role, and before the Hyuki release she was not even that much of a best in slot for any of those like a teammate, especially top tier teammates such as the Karthetia and also the Agosta. She was somewhat feeling the Karthetia teammates just because of she can give you some kind of like a negative status or dot types of damage, so somewhat kind of like a valuable for the Karthetia. But in the Karthetia team she was considered as a flex team, not a must have team slot. But for the Hyuki, she's right now currently considered as a must have, but the people are not even consider her as a must have for the Hyuki team. If the future providing us another status, negative status character, especially for the sub DPS class, I guess she will not even have any of those value for the Hyuki. Even she is going to be another like a fill up the space into your accounts. Anyway, the other character that totally changes, nothing has been changed here. All the characters are remains to their original position. Of course, Yono is also moving down. Yono's buff, which is I already mentioned before, Jack of all trades, but that Jack of all trades is not even that of a high that you should be totally prioritize her. She does give you a little bit of shield, which is actually helpful for your Agosta, because Agosta really required the shield to proc her best in slot eco set. Other than that, she really need her signature weapon to proc her eco set, which I already mentioned in my previous videos. Anyway, just Yono is doing her own thing, and if you really have her Yono on from your previous runner, which is the Hyuki, I guess she's still holding a value beside from the Agosta team. Agosta does not even require that Yono that much. She only requires just like a Mortify and also the Varina. She's very much of a FT friendly character, but Yono can fill up other characters such as the Aemeath team and also so many other teams she can even fill up just fine. So let's move on to our next character. Damn, in our previous version we do have a tier 1 Zani, but she is not even in here. Man, what the heck? I guess the community and also the Pride GG really hate Zani. Zani is of course going to be lower. Damn, she is tier 1.5. I have no idea what made them think that she is actually not even deserving tier 1. Even I think that in my opinion she totally deserves tier 0.5, not tier 0, because tier 0 is totally fill up with lots of like a big Juggernaut character. But when it comes to the Zani, damn man, oh man, god. As I already mentioned before, there is kind of like a specific character, niche character such as the Lupa only provide a fusion character. Outside the fusion team, she does not even hold any value, just like the Chichiona and just like the Phoebe only going to be valuable for your Zani team, where Spectrophager is the must have, and other than that she does not also going to have any kind of value outside the Zani team. So if the Zani goes down, Phoebe also goes down at the same time. Brand is kind of like a facing an identity crisis. This guy is also kind of like a Jack of all trades but master of none, but that Jack of all trades only be viable for the fusion teams, and other than that, this guy is also very much of a highly costly, especially his signature weapon, and also so many multiple constellation will require to make him use viable. Okay, our Camellia really totally move up from tier 3 to tier 2. What's the reason? I have no idea. Cantarella totally moves down from its previous position. Phoebe also moves down, and also Bullying, those are like a 4-star character. In this here, the character which is the niche character, of course, also does not even hold any kind of value, but this is Wuthering. Yes, if you do have his skills, you can even totally clear the endgame mode with your Billing and also dungeon. The another interesting part is which is the Luke Harsin. Damn, Luke Harsin also moves up to the tier 0 to tier 0.5 to tier 0, and I hope that the reason that this guy is totally moves from tier 0.5 to tier 0 is none other than the Denia. Yes, her kit is totally based around like Tune State and also Fusion Burst. Of course, according to the team's options, she can totally change her buffs option, especially if you just cop up with the Aemeath, which is a fusion character, she can totally buff your fusion burst damage, and if you just somehow cop up with the Luke Harsin, she can totally change her buff into a Tune Stain, which is another very much of a higher buff than the fusion burst damage of. Anyway, let's see what kind of review they are totally provided in here, especially the review. First one is a pros, if you just somehow have her, what kind of benefits that you are going to get from her. Another cons is that what kind of problem she have on her kit. So the first point, which is going to be the part of the two best non-quick swap teams in the game and the best quick swap team in the game plays into both fusion and also Tune Stain. Of course, the best non-quick swap teams that they mention, which is none other than our Aemeath. Aemeath is actually fusion burst character. Her damage totally comes from her final ultimate, which is totally a big robot slashing through the grounds by its big giant sword. So that's the non-quick swap teams. Another team that they mention, which is the best quick swap team, I guess they are totally mentioning the Luke Harsin, which is based on very much of a high quick swap things. If you just somehow do that, your damage is going to be the higher. So she have the two best in slot teammates. First one is the fusion burst, and second one is going to be the best quick swap. Second option, which is has lots of viable weapons alternative in fusion burst mode. Of course, if you just somehow able to use her in only the fusion burst mode characters, if you don't even have Luke Harsin, I guess there's no other character that you can even use the Tune Stain, unless the games provided you a future end of this character who also can benefit the Tune Stain damage buff. Okay, for the fusion burst, of course, she's going to have a very much of a wider variation of her weapons. Okay, for the third option, which is a constant off-field grouping, making single target oriented DPS excel in AoE scenarios. Oh my god, if she is actually very good for AoE scenarios things, especially the Whimpering West, then how come she's totally provided into a tier 1? Of course, they don't even totally make her into a tier 0.5. So for the kind of like a verdict, they just totally put her tier 1. Of course, every other character when they release, they always initially put them as a tier 1, and after the banner ends, they are going to move up into a tier 0 or tier 0.5 based on their current performance. Okay, last point, which is going to be the first rotation, high damage, strong buffs, utility, and has markings of a top tier secondary buffer damage dealer. Okay, that's the final point which I already mentioned, and lots of things are totally into a one single line, which is a strong buffer and also high amount of utility, which can provide a two types of variety teams. Let's move on to our cons, which is going to be first one, only plays into a 2-team composition, both limited support options. If you don't have either team, she has no flexibility or to speak of. Of course, if you don't even have a Aemeath, then I guess there are some other fusion character can even work, especially the, what's her name again, there's kind of like a big booba girl, I just totally forgot her name was. Anyway, she can also get benefits just by having her, especially having the Denia on her team. And another character which is going to be the Tune Stain, which is only limited character we have in our team, none other than Luke Harsin, who is also a Tune Stain. So other than these two types of team option, which is a fusion and also the Tune Stain, I guess she does not even hold any kind of candle into this current game, or you can say into your account if you don't even have all of those characters. Okay, for the second one, which is going to be the significantly more signature weapon dependent, if you used in Tune Stain mode, becomes a pretty recommended pickup. Of course, if you are just somehow really use her for the Luke Harsin, not want to use her for the, what's her name again, is Aemeath, I guess you really required her signature weapon, because her signature weapon can even just give you a pretty sustainable amount of Tune Stain buff, which is very much needed for your Luke Harsin team. For the last point, which is use 3 defense echo set in the 3 most important team options, even her own flexibility is limited by needing multiple beats in each of. Yes, that's the another thing which is actually very concerning, because you have to build 3 full set for her, for her total of a very best teams options. If you really want to play her for the, what's the name again, yes, fusion burst damage teams, I guess there will be a different build. For the tune stun damage build, I guess there is also going to be a different build, but the third option I don't know, because they already mentioned 2 teams, she is going to be the viable one. Okay, the point is that they totally give us a resonance mode explanation, which is a small things, but in here I'm not going to talk all of those things. The main thing which is going to be that in tune stun mode, she may feel each target's tune break gauge by 50% and also max once per enemies per battle. Of course, in the tune stun mode, she is going to be increasing 50% to enemies of a tune bar. That's the main thing, because if the tune bar increase very highly, the tune damage can be proc multiple times, and you already know that if any of those characters who can alter the tune break damage, I guess the tune break damage is going to be very high, and this kind of tune break damage does not even care any of those like enemies defense or any of those like resistance high damage in that time. Okay, so the main thing is that the point which they mention in here, which is her outro skill changes either amplify party-wide fusion burst damage. Of course, this is totally based on the fusion burst if you just somehow use her on a fusion burst damage team. And the second is a general damage amplification, which is a tune stun. They just totally does not mention in here, which is 15 to up to 40% depend on whether the buff character can apply tune stun or not. That's the main thing. They did not even mention how much of a buff they can even provide for the fusion burst damage team, but when it comes to the tune stun damage, they can buff up to 15 to 40%, which is actually high. So rather than her fusion burst damage team, she's actually more gated towards the tune stun damage, because the amount of buff she's providing, especially how amount of buff she can even provide for the tune stun damage, damn, she's actually cracked. So that's the main thing. Let's move on to her gameplay and also teams. Well, the gameplay, it is a tier list section. I'm not going to talk about what kind of gameplay she has, but the synergy she have, which is of course in their review section they already mentioned the 2 teams in this current meta only viable she can have, which is the fusion burst team and also tune stun team. Tune stun team is of course Luke Hudson is the another character who can apply the tune stun, and other character does not even have this kind of things. What the tune stun, because if you just somehow of a new guy don't even know what's the tune stun actually not even a tune break damage. Tune stun is kind of like a debuff stage, where if any of those characters who can even get benefit from the tune stun field, I guess this is the Luke Hudson who can even have a higher amount of damage if the enemy are in a tune stun field, and this kind of tune stun field can even apply very much fastly for the Denia, because as the resonance of a small review of the review section, they already mentioned that if she just somehow able to use her outro, or if you have her on your tune stun teams, she's not only going to give you a 50% advance of a tune stun coverage, but she can also increase your damage from 15 to 40% damage, which is actually high. Other than that, fusion burst team, of course in our current meta, the only, or you can say the one of the best character that we even have, or you can say the last and least sentinel, which is the Aemeath, she is going to be highly benefited having Denia on her team. So that's a very much pretty basic things for the gameplay and teams. Let's move on to the build sections. Of course, they already mentioned into their review section, which is the first Dwarf Star, which is her best in slot signature weapon. If you just somehow use her into a Luke Hudson, which is a tune stun damage build, and the another which is the Sting Master. Damn man, if you are like one of those guys who really missed out this String Master, I hope that when the weapon banner is going to be redone, I guess don't even need to pull for the Yen lane, because this weapon is only best in slot for the Yen lane, which was kind of like a best in slot character when the version 1.0 was happening, but she does not even hold any kind of value, and now currently she is totally meta, or you can say the placement around tier 5 to tier 4. So aside from her own performance, her signature weapon performance is actually very universal. If you just somehow have that signature weapon, I guess you don't even have to get any of the signature weapon for any of this like a gauntlet characters in this game, because that's the like a timeless, truly classic signature weapon, just like the Genshin Impact Staff of Homa. Anyway, the other weapon option, I'm not going to talk about it. Those are like a normal things. All the things are totally normal. Okay, I guess that's all for this like a tier list. I already give you a brief or mostly broad description that what kind of things she provide, and if you should even pull for her or not. If you do have a Aemeath, and also on one of her like a current best team, which is consist of a Aemeath, Linai and Morny, I guess there might be not even reason to pull for the Denia. But if you really want to build one of the most powerful DPS character teams, such as second to the best DPS team in our current endgame mode, which is the Hyuki, consists of Linai and also the Chisa, I guess your Linai does have kind of like a very hard spot maintaining the between into those teams. So if you really want to build two characters in having that in your mind, I guess you can even just totally pull for her, because in those like one of those her review section or on one of our kit, we did not even get any of those like a brief idea that how amount of buff she can even provide for the fusion burst damage team. Just like they totally provide us that for the Tunis 10 damage team. In the Tunis 10 damage, she can provide up to 15 to 40%. I guess that's all for these things. I hope that you already like this video. If you like it, leave a like, and also if you have any kind of opinion regarding her placement into this current meta, you can even totally feel free to leave under the comment section, and see you on the next video. Peace.